Hi, Stacy Rothgeb. I am an MBA student with the University of Denver. I'm going to be talking to you about a pitch session that I went to this morning. It's called Smart Cities, Transportation, and Sustainability Tech. I actually am in the lucky position where I am often reviewing pitches from startups and new companies and trying to make that judgment if the technology and the company is viable and worthy of investment from the Department of Energy or other incubator type programs. And so I always, when I have an opportunity to see other pitch sessions of this nature and other investors, I try to take that opportunity both to see what the new technologies are and also new business models I'm particularly interested in. But I'm also interested to see how others kind of pick those shining stars and what the judging criteria are. And I'm always interested to hear, like, what are the questions? So there were 5 companies that presented. Some of them, as with most of these things, some of them stronger than others. It's a pretty broad topic that they had: smart cities, transportation, and sustainability. So some of them were more applicable and of interest to me than others. The first one was AMA. It was about the gamification of sustainable actions. It's interesting because I didn't really know this was a thing, but through participation in South by Southwest, I've had a number of companies reach out to me, and it's kind of been brought to my awareness, this idea of software apps that track individuals' sustainability behaviors and scores them and kind of makes a competition out of it. And so I didn't know this was a thing. It doesn't seem far reached as a need, but I've talked to, actually, this will be the 3rd company that I've had conversations with in the last 3 weeks, all directly related to South by Southwest, but are basically offering the same thing. I will say that I'm a little skeptical. This is not something I would pick to invest in if I was on that adjudication committee, but because all of them require either a corporate funder, they require a 3rd person funder. And so I'm a little like, it's more that you're selling to the business, a company that wants a sustainability program, and then they roll it out to their employees. I have some skepticism of that business model because I think it separates, where the value is from who's paying for it in some ways. So the second company that pitched was called Carbon Reform. I'm actually super interested in them. I've already reached out to try to connect, and the idea is or Carbon Return, my apologies. The idea is that they have a technology that you retrofit into the existing ventilation and filtration system in a commercial building, and it has a carbon capture material. What I thought this, and it's fairly innovative to do carbon capture as a retrofit application in an existing building in the ventilation system. But what was really interesting to me about this one is that their business model includes, so when they capture the carbon, it goes into a lime material, and as part of the limestone material bioproduct, and as part of their business model, you have this annual subscription, and they actually sell that material for you back to construction to be used in cement. So I like the circular economy aspect of it. I like that they thought through all products that are, all the byproducts that are in that solution. So anyway, I think it's definitely worth some further conversation, and we'll see what goes with that. The next one was called Land, and what this was is basically an electric vehicle motorcycle. And it's a little different than what I've seen before, because it's the idea that it's a motorcycle. It's designed to be the more urban commuter, not like a mountain bike or someone who's a motorcycle, Harley, recreational thing. What makes it unique is that it is an electric driven. The battery in it is replaceable. So instead of having to go and plug it in and charge it, the intent was there would be a network where you could swap out the batteries and have instant recharge. And what I liked most about this one is that they had some really good data about the level of impact, and the idea is really there's a significant load, a carbon and combustion and indoor or outdoor air quality load, I guess, from motorcycles, because there's so many more motorcycles on this planet than there are cars. And I guess the numbers they were sharing, I hadn't thought of it at the scale that it is. And it's also much more reasonable to move a motorcycle to an electric vehicle because the charge time is more reasonable and the costs are more reasonable, and the ability to have that interchangeable battery is, that's really one of the challenges of electric vehicle cars right now, is the charge time and that insecurity of when you can charge. So again, not in my field of interest because it's not buildings, but I think it has potential. Is it unique? I'm not sure. I would have to, check those facts if there's nothing else like it. I know there's plenty of electric motorcycles out there. So why is this particular thing, why does it have a place in the market that doesn't exist? I'd have to figure that out. The next one was Urban Machine, and this one was it was pretty fascinating to me, and it's the idea of recycling or upcycling construction materials. So if they're pulling down a building, it's actually a machine that they take to the site that will separate the concrete from the steel versus the other materials and kind of split them up so that they can be reused and repurposed in other ways, or recycled as it could be. As I've said before, I'm doing a lot of work with industrialized construction, and I'm doing a lot of work with circular economy. So these things all fit into it very well. I have some skepticism about the reality of it. How much longer does it take? Really, what is the cost? I didn't feel like that was discussed well enough in the discussion, but I'm still intrigued enough that I also have reached out to this company to see if there's opportunities. I think, both this one and that carbon reform, they're both things that I could see additional funding available through BTO sources, and so we should absolutely pursue that. I will say I think Urban Machine just hit their funding limit, so maybe they don't need any help, which is more power to them. The last one was Zofer, which it was a business model that was like Uber, but it's only the driver. And I totally didn't get it, is what it came down to. And I think what was going on, so the idea is where instead of calling an Uber to have someone else drive you around in their car, you call basically a chauffeur and they drive you around in your car. And there's such a trust thing to have someone drive you in your car, and there are limitations, like they can't drive your kids, because personally that's the need I would have, and I've paid high schoolers that I knew and trusted to drive my kids around in my car. But this was not that. It was to drive adults around. I could see maybe a scenario where like you're going out with your friends and they might be drinking, and I don't know. The coworker I was sitting with pointed out that I think it may be a cultural divide. This person happened to be from India, and my understanding is potentially in India, it is more of a status symbol to have someone drive you around. So maybe there is a market there that I did not personally appreciate. Anyway, not my idea of a good time. I don't know. I think that's all I have to say. I think this session was really worth my time in the fact that I got to, that's the last thing, is like the criteria that they use to judge. As I said, this is one of the reasons why I chose to go, was creativity, viability, goodness. I love the terminology for that, but it's again, how you serve, serve our culture and our world. Traction, which is how much momentum they already have in team. I'll also say that this was not a funding opportunity, it was a prize. So I think the funders, the winner would get like $4,000 in tickets to next year's South by, but there was not substantial investment money, capital thrown in. I think the real value though would come from the people in the room, people like me who reached out to them after the fact with real access to additional funding. Anyway, enjoyed the pitch session. I would do one again.